Anna here. Welcome to Sew Learn Create. I'm glad you joined us today. And if you haven't done so, if you would subscribe, that would be great. We are trying to reach 5,000 subscribers on our channel. And I thank you for all the subscribers I already have. Today's video, we're going to be making a business card holder. It's made out of cotton fabric with a little bit of padding. And you open it up and it'll hold business cards or even gift cards. So let's get started. For today's project, the business card holder, you'll need the following supplies. You'll need 2 pieces of fabric for the outside that are 5 by 6. You'll need 2 pieces that are 5 by 5 for the pockets on the inside. And you'll need a piece of batting to go in between that is a 5 by 6. You'll also need a piece of elastic 3 inches long for the closure and a button. And the elastic I'm using is a very thin stretch elastic. You'll also need some thread and basic sewing supplies to complete your project. So the first part is we're going to take our pockets and we're going to fold them in half and we're going to press them. And when you create a pocket this way, it makes your pocket lined on the inside of your pocket, which I think always gives it a little more body and makes it look a little nicer. Next, we'll go to the machine and we will stitch across the folded edge of our pocket to give it a little more security. So let's go to the machine. Now we're going to stitch right across the pocket edge on the folded edge of the pocket. I'm going to make just a narrow stitch line, so I'm going to use the inside edge of my foot as my guide. And when I come to the end of my first pocket, since I have 2, I'm going to go ahead and place my second one in line, and I'm going to do what they call chain piecing. That way I don't have to stop and start and cut my threads. You just feed the second one on there and continue to stitch. Now we'll go back to the mat and I'll show you how to start assembling the rest of your project. Now that we've gotten our pocket stitched and with the chain stitching, then I just have this one little set of threads that I need to cut. We're going to begin to lay out our project. We're going to take one of our pieces that will be the inside and the outside of our business card holder, and we're going to lay it where the long side is at the top. You're going to take your pockets, you're going to line up the outside edges so that the raw edges are on the outside and your folded stitched edge is towards the inside. Then we're going to take our piece of elastic and we want that elastic to be in between our fabrics. So I'm going to place it here and I'm going to put a clip on that. And then we're going to baste these pockets and the elastic in place. So I'm going to clip all the way around my pockets, making sure that those outside edges are lined up. When we go to the machine, then we're going to stitch all the way across using a very narrow stitch again, so that these pockets, when we assemble the complete project, will not shift on us, and otherwise they have a tendency to do this and then you have to take the project apart. So I want to go and stitch all the way around, securing that elastic in place also. So let's go to the machine. I forgot to mention, but when you put your elastic and you want to baste it in place, you need to make sure that your raw edges are on the outside and your loop is towards the center of your project. Now we're going to baste these 3 things in place. So again, I'm going to use the inside of my presser foot so it gives me a narrow stitch so that when I come back and use the outside edge of my presser foot, you will not see these stitch lines at all. You want to start on the middle of a pocket, never on the point or the corner. It just makes life easier. And I like to start with my needle down so that all my pieces are secure when I begin stitching. And when I come to the edge of my pocket, I'm just going to keep stitching right across because I won't see those stitch lines. I want to make sure that corner gets tucked in there good. When I come to this corner, I'm going to leave my needle down and I'm going to lift and turn my project and then just keep going. When I come to my elastic, I want to put my finger there to hold it in place because I've got to remove that clip, making sure that those edges are just a little bit past the edge of my fabric. And sometimes they will shift on you, so just slide them under your presser foot. And sometimes you can get one side stitched and then do a little bit more on the second side. Sometimes this elastic is a little bit contrary, like this one's going to be. Yep. Or very contrary. And I'm going to back stitch over that. Go to my corner, leave my needle down, lift and turn again, and just keep going. Making sure that corner is nice and flat. Stitching across. Making sure that corner is underneath my presser foot. Last corner, and then when I come to this stitching, I'm going to cross it just slightly to lock my stitches in place. And now we're ready to assemble the rest of our project. Now we have our pockets assembled to the inside of our business card holder, and we're ready to put the rest of the project together. So you're going to lay the piece with your pockets face up or right side up. You're going to take your second piece of 5x6 fabric and put it face down on top of that. Then you're going to take your batting and you're going to lay your batting on top of that unit. When we stitch this across, we're going to leave an opening, and you want to leave your opening across from your elastic on the short side of your project, because you don't want to leave an opening where your pockets are, because then it makes it just harder to close up all the way. So we're going to use our opening over here, and I'm going to use my red and green clip system. I'm going to put a green clip where I'm going to start my stitching, and I'm going to leave a red clip where I'm going to stop my stitching. This way I know that this is going to be my opening, and I don't stitch over it and have to open it back up. And I like to clip mine all the way around so that all my pieces are nice and lined up and even. And you can put as many clips on it, it makes you feel secure. When we go to the machine, we're going to start at our green clip. We're going to stitch all the way around using our regular seam allowance and stop at the red clip, leaving this opening so we can turn our project right side out. So let's go to the machine. Now we're going to stitch all the way around, and remember, we're going to start at our green clip, stop at our red, leaving this small opening so we can turn our project right side out. So I'm going to slide it in here, and this time we're going to use the outside edge of our foot so that our basting stitches will not be shown. So start with our needle down, usually helps. We're going to go across to our corner, leave our needle down, lift our presser foot, turn our project, making sure it's lined up good, and keep on stitching. Lift and turn. I've gone over my elastic here, I can see it, and I'm just going to back stitch just to secure that one more time. Now we're at our last corner, and I'm going to turn, and my red clip I need to go ahead and remove so that my presser foot will go, and I'm just going to put my finger there where I need to stop. So remove my clip, go to my finger, back stitch a little bit just to secure those threads. And we'll go to the mat and turn it right side out. Now we're ready to turn our project right side out. Before I turn something, I always flip my project over and make sure that I've caught all of my fabric. My fabric shifted on me slightly, but it's not that big a deal. So if I wanted to, I could trim this batting, but I don't think I'm going to worry too much about it. The other thing I am going to do is I'm going to clip my corners to reduce my bulk. So I'm going to take and clip them diagonally, making sure that I'm not close to that stitching, because you do not want to cut your stitch line or you'll have to take it back to the machine. So I'm going to do that on all four corners. And just cut it slow because you are going through that batting, which makes it a little thicker. Cut all four of those corners. And when we turn it, when we clip those corners, it reduces the bulk in that corner, which makes it come out a little crisper. Now we're ready to turn our project, but we want to make sure that we turn so that our batting goes on the inside and our pockets are on the inside of our project. So you want to find your fabric, your outside fabric and your inside pocket. Put your finger in. I like to go to a corner and stick my thumb. Stick my finger in. I like to go to a corner, stick my thumb in, push it out, and then I've got a good chunk that I can pull and turn my project. And just keep pulling until you get it all the way out. Now I'm going to take my chopstick and I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to gently poke those corners out, making them a little bit more of a right angle and crisp. Then I'm going to press my project, because anytime you press your fabric before you stitch it again, it makes it easier and it makes it look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to press it, and I want to make sure that this is turned in, so when I press it and I top stitch it, it'll be a nice, neat look. So I'm going to press it. It's nice and flat, making sure that that's pressed really crisp. So when we top stitch, it is just looks a little nicer. So we'll go back to the machine for our last step on the machine. Now we're going to top stitch all the way around our project, and the main reason is so that our pockets will lay flat and our two sections will be together, but also it's to close up this opening. So you want to start close to the opening, but not in the corner. So I'm going to start my stitching about right here. And again, on this, we want it to be really close to the edge, not a real wide stitch. So I'm going to use the inside of my foot once again. You are going through several layers, including that batting. So you would start with your needle down and then just go slowly because the machine will bog down if you try to go too fast. So we're just going to stitch across. And most of your bulk will be in your corners because you have batting and all of those layers. So sometimes I will put my needle down, lift and turn, and then I will hand crank the first couple of stitches, making sure that it catches. Once it catches, then I can just keep going. When you come to that other pocket, just make sure it gets caught underneath your presser foot and continue. My second corner, I'm going to hand crank that a little bit just to make sure it catches and keep going. Last corner. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to stitch just past this stitch line a little bit and back stitch to lock all that in place. The last thing to do is to sew our button on and we'll be done. Now we're ready to add our button closure. And your button closure is the last place that you can add a little more design if you want to. I've picked a variety of buttons and each one gives a little bit different look. You just want to make sure that it's a button that is going to fit your loop well. Like I feel this one is a little bit small for that and possibly that one. So I think I'm going to go with this big green one because I want a very simple look on mine. You just want to line it up across from your elastic loop. And because we're stitching this and we have a pocket on the inside, we want to make sure that we don't stitch through all of the layers, that we are just stitching through this top layer. So I have doubled my thread because then you don't have to make as many loops on your button sewing. So I want to make sure that it's lined up across from my loop. And my elastic shifted on me a little bit, so it's not quite in the center, but that's no big deal. I'm going to hold that. And when I take my first stitch, I want to make sure that I just go through that top layer and my knot will be underneath my button, not underneath my fabric. So see, I've only gone through the top layer of fabric, not all the way through to my pocket. Then when I stitch, I want to make sure that I take a small stitch, come out to the side, making sure it hadn't shifted on me. And now I've got one side that is almost done. Then you're going to take a small stitch and I'm going to go ahead and go across to my other set of holes. Still making sure that I'm only stitching the top layer of fabric and not my pocket layer. Pull everything tight. Go back down. Take a small stitch and pull it tight. And then when I'm going to go, I'm just going to keep going, making sure I'm only doing that top stitch. And I'm going to do that 2 more times on that set of holes and 2 more times on these set of holes, and then I'll be done. Now our button is on and we can just Close our business card holder, and our project is complete. I hope you liked today's project, the business card holder. And be sure you subscribe and click that bell notification so you'll know when I upload new videos. See you in the next one.